Welcome to this example here where we're going to take a look at how we can find the mean, median, and mode of a data set that is described using a frequency table. Now, it's going to be a little bit different from what you were used to probably with mean, median, and mode, but we're going to use a frequency table and we're going to have to use the data based on that. I'm going to be using DESMOS to do my calculations, and so I'm going to show just a very simple kind of example of what I'm doing with that. Here we go. We are given the weights of a baseball team. It's broken up into a frequency chart. The weights, we have intervals of about 15 pounds, and I think all that's pounds, yep. And then how many players fit inside each of those categories. Now, what we have to remember is that when the data is arranged in a frequency table, the exact data points are not known. Those three guys that are between 150 and 165 pounds could all be 150 pounds, potentially. Or they could all be 164 pounds, potentially. But they'll be somewhere in between there, so we don't know that exact one. Each data point is going to be represented by the average in the interval, and so we have to make sure that we put in the average. Between 150 and 165, the average is 157.5. That's the number that we're going to use and plug that in. So when we look at all these points, we realize there are 44 data points. Make sure that when you are plugging things in, there are 44 data points calculated. You may have to go through and double check to make sure you get accurate numbers and answers. First thing we're going to do, we're going to enter all the data points into DESMOS. Here is a small little sampling of the ones that I have put in. And looks like my little camera here is going to get in the way. Let's make that a bit smaller. So there's all the data points, and or at least some of them. I didn't even get all of them on there, but you'll notice that there are 3 that are at 157.5, and then there are 6 at 172.5, and then there are 8 at 187.5, and so on and so forth. So I've put all of those data points in and made sure to show them all in that way as clearly as possible. Now, we're going to use our codes, the mean and median codes, to determine the mean and median. Okay, and this is the way they look when you plug them into DESMOS. Okay, if you're using a different program, it might look a little different, but it's going to find that we have a mean of 202.84 and a median of 202.5, which happens to be really close together, which is kind of nice. That is really nice. So that's going to be our mean and median. Then our mode is going to be the most common. We're going to look back at our frequency table and realize that 210 to 225 range is the most common. So 217.5 is going to be our mode, and that's going to give us all those data points. Now it's important to realize, so that's kind of that A piece of it. B, are these measures accurate? Why or why not? They're not accurate. They could be close, and I've looked at other data sets, and yes, it's close, but it's not going to be accurate because we don't know the exact data points. Okay, so that's just something that we have to realize when we're going through it. And C, if a single player is picked at random, how heavy would you expect them to be? I would expect them to be in that middle category where the 9 and 12 pieces are, somewhere between 195 and 225. And if you're giving this answer, you have to make sure that you are clearly explaining why you think that. Okay, well, I mean, most common range there, right? But you got to pick a range you feel would be the most common and where you would expect to see the data points. That is how I would answer the question. It's how I would come up with the answer. Okay, the answers are correct. The way you come up with it might be a little different, and that's okay. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.